great show. That's what I'll say. All right, let's see here. Okay, it's showing live. Okay, now we're good. Now we're good. I'm gonna tag. Oh, you're not on Facebook. I was
No.
gonna tag you. Okay, so let me enlarge this, turn off the sound, and then go to YouTube and do the same. Here we go. Okay, turn off the sound. All right, we got both chats up. Looks like we got got a couple of people in. Okay, this is a a big event. Papa Charlie's in the house. I see his face. This is a big event from a longtime friend from probably 2017. So we're talking like 7 years to know somebody in this transition we call Ascension. 7 years is an accomplishment in itself. Um, yeah, this is a big deal because, I've kind of been on hiatus. And this is the first day that I've actually done two shows in the same day, back when I used to do three, four, and five and six a day. But it's the
Wow.
first day I've
Yeah.
done two in the same day. And so I'm getting my feet back on the ground and getting reacclimated with with this new earth thing. Now, um, I've known your name, and I think we exchanged messages when you were on Facebook. I do remember we exchanged some
Yeah.
messages.
Once or twice.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this, like 2017, 2018, or whatever it was. And I did solos last week. I did three solos. I did one last night. And on those solos, I had like three or four people make some pretty cool comments. And you were one of them. So I thought, oh, because this is how I used to do it. I'd see somebody on Facebook, I'd be like, hey, you want to go live? That's kind of how, we started doing, figuring out, who's going to come on and all that. But yeah, I don't remember the comment itself, but I remember that it struck me, like, wow, there's Aeryn. And I hadn't seen her in a long time. I wonder if she wants to go on, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. So thanks for coming in and sharing space with me and with all of us and honoring us with your presence. I'm excited to get into uh, some of the details uh, with you because I have known you. I guess you could say from a distance, like we know so many people on social media. Um, but yeah, I mean, like what makes you tick and all that stuff. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, thanks for coming in.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
So you're in England,
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Okay.
Manchester.
Manchester. Okay. We got
Yeah.
lots of friends over there for sure. Lots of friends in that area in London and what is it, Sussex and or Suffolk or I don't know. I get them all
Yeah.
mixed up. But uh yeah, so I mean, so you we were just talking before. Oh, let me record this. I'm gonna record this. Boom. Welcome everybody. Okay, we're going to get started now. We were talking beforehand, and you said that you thought you had discovered Soul G in 2017, because I remember it being way back, but we didn't really start doing videos until the end of 2015 after I met Morgan in September. It just all seemed to happen from that point. Um, and so I was just saying, yeah, that was back when we were like at the 200th or 250th show. Now we've done like I think right around 4,500. But yeah, I mean, how did that go down for you? Where were you at that point? I mean, I know a lot of people have talked about one of the I guess gifts of Sology has been that they discovered this platform and realized that they weren't alone and they didn't feel as weird or left out or isolated. And so I'm just wondering, like, what was your experience? Were you, you know, fresh into the awakening, into the word ascension and such? I mean, what was your experience when you came across Sology?
Yeah. Well, in 2017, that was like the year that I like to say that's the year that I awakened, really.
Mm,
It was August and it was a spectacular mess. And I think, just searching around Facebook, joining Facebook groups and I don't know what else. And then I came across one of your spirit walks
mm,
and you were outside walking around with your camera, with your phone, and I was like, and I think you were doing a bit, I can't remember what you were doing. You were doing a bit of music. I don't know if it was on that particular video, whether you were doing some poetry or something.
mm,
And I was like, yeah, this is real. This is someone who's really going through it. This, what I'm going through, like this, what's going on kind of thing. And, I'd been sort of having weird experiences for a few years before that. Um, Experiences that I was, um, like confused about, but I also knew it was spirit. I knew it was guides, it was angels, or whatever it was. But I was like also massively confused about the whole thing, and I was on a lot of meds. I was under psychiatric care. I had this kind of like big episode in August where I nearly ended up in hospital, but I just refused to go. Um, and my parents were caring for me at the time, and I decided to stop taking my meds at that time as well. So that was really difficult. But yeah, and that's when I started really plugging into groups, and I really started to feel that I something fundamental had happened inside of me that would never go back. Like um, yeah, that's where I was at. So it was kind of a big, huge mess, but it was like beautiful as well. I've got some really fond memories of those times
mm.
and the things I was going through, but it was extremely difficult, and it's been difficult ever since, obviously. I mean, I don't think anyone could say this is easy.
That's what I'm saying. Um, I think that's really important what you just said, uh, because in the evolution of the show, I think I've been able to, and I think others that have followed it to some degree or another have been able to kind of see what's going on collectively through these conversations. And so there's quite a few characteristics that many people that have come on the show and many people that we know have shared. And that is like, for instance, many of us, have had visits to the psych ward, or to jail or to other places because we weren't fitting in some way or another. Um, and then of course like estrangement from family and just that whole wake up experience that we've all kind of come to understand through the show that we're not alone. But something that you said, I realize now, I thought was kind of unique to me. And it's not a coincidence that I just started doing those solos last week, because if you listen to any of the solos, I'm telling you and my everyone that I don't want to be doing this. It's not something my human is wanting to do, but my soul saying, you need to get on here and you need to talk about your story. Uh, and I don't even know why. But now I can kind of see why, because I said for years, uh, my wake up, which I would say, I mean, once we started, I guess it never stops, right? But I guess, that beautiful mess for me was 2011 and 12 and 13, when I chose to be homeless for 2 years. And I would say often that I proved that you can lose your effing mind and find the light at the
Yeah,
same time. And so listening to what you just said, I realized, you know what, dummy, you're not the only one, Todd. You actually, your beautiful mess sounds to me like, by conventional standards, and maybe even like in my case, I had to say to myself, you know what, there's a part of you that's absolutely left the reservation here. But there's another part that just says everything's okay. There is something that's happened, that's changed the core of reality, and it has happened from inside myself. So it sounds like that's you went through a very extreme, I would imagine, emotional, mental, physical experience, but at the same time, you found your soul.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like that's the hard thing is when you're talking about this is what you're saying to a lot of people is the way they interpret it is you've had a psychotic break and that's all
Yeah,
it is, or a
yeah,
mental
yeah.
breakdown we would call it in the UK, or an emotional breakdown or, or a midlife crisis or something like that.
Right,
But it was so much more than that. I knew it was, I mean, there's two sides to it. I was identifying as being psychotic, but
right.
also at the same time, I knew something profound was happening. And, I mean, it's really hard to describe what it means to be awake because that keeps changing anyway. Um, but, you know, the universe just kept proving to me that what I believed was real, or what I believed the confines of my world was, isn't real. And I saw things that I knew, in broad daylight. I was seeing things that I knew other people couldn't see, but I couldn't. It was such an earth-shattering experience for me that um, I knew it was real, but I knew no one else could see what I was seeing.
Wow.
So, I was just seeing ships in the sky and stuff like that. And I was even I was live streaming on Facebook one morning, and I had this experience. I was looking out my window and I started to see a ship. Well, what I saw first was because I live on a flight path here. Um, the planes were coming into land. Only kind of, I don't know, a quarter of a mile away from me, and this plane literally stopped in midair for about 30 seconds or something like that. And then that whole experience started to kind of change into me seeing a ship behind it and seeing, it's like a vision of, I don't know, the galaxy or the universe or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And um, I got, like I was having some kind of weird psychosis, but it was also real. And I think it's like important to say like that even though these experiences aren't really part of what the world at large is experiencing, it doesn't make it any less real, any less important.
Yeah.
It
No
doesn't
doubt.
mean it's not just simply a mental breakdown.
Yeah. Yes, that's a big one. Um, I talked a little bit about my second marriage and my wife who transitioned in 2012. Um, by conventional standards and diagnosis, she was uh, labeled or, uh, with mental disorders, specific ones. But having, spent 10, 11 years with her, I knew she was the first person that I actually had, I would say, a consistent interaction with that could see to the other side. And
Yeah,
so, to the point of what you're describing, when you're that connected to somebody and you're realizing that they're seeing something that you're not, it's real. It's still real. And
yeah,
it would take a few more years before I would have my own experiences and go through the same type of thing. So, I was thinking about this last night. We Our rationality went out the window. A lot of people that come on the show, they will say, "Oh, when I was born, I had it. And then I was told my imaginary friends weren't real and I was suppressed. And, then I got out of high school and I got into the matrix and went to work and all this stuff, right? It's like, the things that were natural and rational to us, we were told were unnatural and unreal. And I was thinking last night, so that put us in a situation where we're trying to communicate in an irrational way, in an irrational language that's not natural to us, with an irrational energetic force, which we might call the matrix or whatever you want to call it, right? Um, and so now we come back around and we're realizing that, yeah, these things are real. Fairies are real. Unicorns are real. Ships in the sky are real. There's a lot of stuff that's real. Dragons are real. There's this relationship between our internal and the external that's real. Uh, and Now we can start to approach life, which is what my solo was last night, was, hey, we landed, you know, we've landed. Now, what do we do with this? I mean, we can operate as soul, as our multidimensional selves, as we navigate and experience this world. And I feel like that's kind of what you're bringing to the table. I really feel like 2024 is it. It's the new. It's not coming. It's here. We're here.
Yeah, I
So
think
all the
so.
crazy people aren't crazy anymore, and the people that thought they weren't crazy are starting to lose their mind. Maybe something like that.
Yeah, I mean, like my kind of feeling of being connected and listening to guides and stuff like that is just amplified in the last couple of weeks. Um, even if even though I've been going through this kind of process of like really intense kind of depression and shadow and this real feeling of density in my body, but at
Yeah.
the same time, like it's been met with this inner strength that's come forwards and then things have happened like you've asked me if I want to come on the show and I'm like I think I can do this, like I think I
Right.
can. Whereas maybe 2 weeks ago I would have just like said no or pretend I didn't see a comment or something like that, like so I feel like it's really really happening. I've been experiencing this, incredible doubt over the last couple of years that any of this is real, spirituality isn't real, all these teachings, and I feel like that was part of the process of it actually grounding in, and
Yeah.
now it's here.
Yeah. 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 I know what you mean, because it's like, even and that's a strange thing too, because we have these experiences, you in 2017, me in 2011, and others other years, and you have these what I would classify as divine episodes,
Yeah,
and yet we still doubt. So that's been a real interesting thing to witness and experience over the years. But I will say this to your point: over the last few weeks, certainly in this year 2024, this Gregorian calendar year anyway, um, something's different. There is something different. um, it's and you brought up depression, and we can talk about other emotional states. One of the things I think that's coming through is that part of you that you're describing, your soul, um, is meeting it head on, is maintaining balance within your field, with some kind of combination of nurturing and compassion and love
yeah,
and so on. Um, but that it's, in other words, a space of no judgment with yourself is what I'm feeling. Like like, I know I'm getting better. I know we're getting better in the terms of a greater awareness and, uh, let's say, a more potentialized, um, experience where we can create things, in other words, and we can play with the magic and the energy and such. But but we're still having a human experience, and I think what you're bringing to the table as well is it's okay if I go into a bit of a depression, and I've gone into them as recently as
Yeah.
in the last month. If you want to call it that, I don't look at it the same anymore. It's just me in solitude staring at the ceiling for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know,
uh, That's the thing,
yeah,
isn't it? It's the language that we use. Like, it's not really a depression to me, but that's the word we have to use. Like when we're talking with the outside world about what's happening.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think for me, it's just been like this really intense process, and as I feel like I'm coming towards the end of this period for myself, and but what I've learned is just to actually, I mean, we all know this, don't we? Like you just let it be as it is. Like I've tried to fix it. I've spent mornings meditating my ass off, like trying to fix the depression, coming up with an action plan of how I'm going to care for myself, self-care or whatever, get out, do some exercise, eat some healthy foods and all of that stuff, like, things that might help. But that's just helping, that's just me looking after myself. That's not
right,
really gonna make anything go away. It's here to be felt as it is. And
right,
like I think that's the hardest part of this whole awakening is we're going from um this mentality where when we have a bad feeling, we're not supposed to be having bad feelings, so we have to fix it.
right, right.
And now we're like, oh, and then we go, and I was like, well, I was thinking for for long periods of time that, my spiritual growth, I would come to a point where I'd no longer have bad feelings. And now I'm like, 7 years into this, it's like I'm used to it, like I'm fairly good at letting myself get lost in it, like because I think the more intensely we can feel it, the more effective the kind of
Yeah,
process is anyway.
yeah.
But
That
it
makes a
doesn't
lot
take
of,
away from not want I don't want to be depressed, but it sucks, But like
yeah,
it's I don't know, there's something inside of me, and maybe that's my soul as well, that's saying you can let go and you can get lost in a depression for a few days. It doesn't matter.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot to be said for what you're saying because, yeah, again, these synchronicities are just amazing. But last night, and I don't think I was talking about this on the live, but I was outside talking to myself, which is what we crazy people do. There's something about hearing my voice now that's different too when I'm alone. But I was saying to myself because I felt like the epiphany was like, man, wait a minute. We're like astronauts that landed, and our goal was to land and say, "Hey, we're here," kind of thing. It was just coming in that way, and I was like thinking about just even in that moment, even last night with things in my personal life, just things that were sitting there, things that had been projected, things that had been experienced, things that were hanging around, and I thought by now, and I can go back to like the late 2019, I started sitting with my emotions, rather than saying, oh, put that over there, or that
Yeah.
person's just, you know, not nice or whatever, instead of doing what you're saying. And so then to start to sit with them. So last night I was sitting with a couple of things. I thought, we came here to experience to the extreme. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying. So it's like if we try to cure it, it stays. I get a
Yeah.
little bit I don't want to say frustrated, but a little bit frustrated with seeing the same post over and over again, that we're clearing this or we're clearing that or we're clearing this. Well, if we're clearing this and we're clearing that, why does it keep coming back? Maybe we're
Yeah.
supposed to feel it, and that in the feeling of it, by our definition, it clears. It loses a
Yeah,
charge. It loses an imbalancing quality and becomes part of our unified field within ourself, by not resisting it and not trying to fix it. Because trying to fix it is resistant to our perfection, you know? It's like saying something's wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with us. The whole world's been built by our design to tell us something's wrong with us or we're not good enough or whatever the
yeah,
case is. So yeah, I really have a lot of respect for what you're saying. And I don't feel that that's been something that has been talked about a lot. And I think this is another characteristic of what we found ourselves in now, which is what I've been talking about since last week at my soul's direction, uh, is let's have some conversations. Let's put everything on the table. And I think we're going to find
yeah,
out that we're all experiencing, even to a deeper level, the same thing
yeah.
all along.
I'm just getting so many synchronicities over the last couple of days because I've been going through, I've been journaling, I've been channeling, I've been sitting with my guides, with my team. They took me through a really intense process this morning for like 2 hours, and it was beautiful but really raw. And then I turn on YouTube and that person is talking about exactly what I've just been going through and dealing
Yeah,
with the exact same things. And it's just like, how much more proof do you need, Aaron? It's not that, you're all going through this together.
right.
Like, and I think this year is going to be all about this, is this, how feelings are just going to get stronger this year.
Yeah,
Like it's just going to keep ramping up.
yeah,
And and they were saying, like I've got to slow down. I've got to stop trying to fix it because that's what I do. But like, if I don't slow down, I'm gonna be flat on my back anyway. So there's no choice about it.
yeah,
I have to feel what's happening,
yeah,
and there's no choice anymore. There's no like won't be able to put it off for a day. It'll just happen.
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like you were talking about, getting something good to eat, doing a little exercise. It's not about uh, fixing anything. It's about just doing what you can in alignment with yourself in that moment without any further thought, right?
Yeah,
If it contributes to something, and it obviously would, it's energy that would be in your quote unquote future, then so be it. But this, yeah, it's weird. And what you're saying too about the whole dialogue, right? Like, and feeling. So I look at the feeling part and I hear two things: feelings, my feelings, and feeling. Like those to me since January 1 have been like the buzzwords. I'm going to feel my way through
yeah,
by first being in touch with my feelings way beyond anything we've ever talked about. And so if I look at, like, coming out of the Soulspeaks Fest, the third one in 3 years, ends up in December. I felt like I literally died. Like I felt like I've got no energy left to put into Soulspeaks. What's going to happen? I pretty much shut the network down for the last few weeks. But at beneath it all, there was this, like you talked about, my soul was there, fully present, with everything the human was feeling and worrying about and thinking about. It was just there and saying, hey, you know what? It's okay. You don't have to go on today. You don't have to go on next week.
yeah,
Just let it come. Just let it come out. And
yeah,
that's really strange to do something like that. Um, and kind of
yeah,
block out the world, block out collaborators and people that are waiting to do a show, and when are we going to get started again? And just literally not blocked everything out as in resistant, but I need to know myself first before I can even have a conversation. That's kind of where I was coming from. Yeah.
yeah. Like I mean, for me, it's like I was just going. Even I mean, every day I'm like this. Every morning, it's like, what have I got to do today? What should I be doing? What appointments have I got? Like it's just this turns into this big long list in my head. or on my phone of what I've got to do, and I'm just my mental process is just getting way over involved in the whole thing, and I'm way up
Yeah.
here, and I don't need to do any of it. I just really don't. I can
Yeah.
let the washing up pile up. I don't need to clean the bathroom today. I know it will happen, like at some point. I don't know when, but like these things, what I'm feeling like what's changing for me is that I can let go of the plannings of life stuff and let that just happen. Because when it's time for it to happen, it just you don't even think about it, do you? You just like things just kind of roll together, and all of a sudden you've had this super productive day, but it had nothing to do with what you planned.
Right.
And that's about feeling, that's about what the body wants. That's about like what the heart wants. And this morning it was like, there's a teacher, a famous teacher who he's brilliant about, like getting back in touch with your heart. And it's quite, I find it funny, but like this morning it really worked for me is like, getting in touch with your heart and your innocence. And I was like, how do I see myself as innocent? And it's like talk to the baby Jesus that's resting inside your heart. And I did that, and it was like, oh my God, if you can picture the innocent child, the innocent baby that's in the center of your heart, and see what that baby wants,
Yeah.
then you can see this whole innocent self that just wants to play, that just wants to have fun, and I just did what it wanted to do. So like I let go. It was just a way that I could let go of the stuff of life today and just nurture myself,
Yeah.
nurture me, the innocence inside of me, because that's what we are at our cores. We're innocent,
Yeah.
we're pure, we're
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah.
And all of this bullshit that's going on in the world and how we're supposed to be living our lives, and like that can all wait. It's not that
Yeah.
important. Not right now.
Well,
Like,
and it's had enough of our attention for long enough too.
yeah, like
And I know.
what's important right now is I get a pad of paper out and do some drawing. That's what it's like, that simple. But
Yeah. Yeah.
we make that so complex.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I think it's almost like because I really felt like that on 11/11/11, it was actually the 9th of November, I woke up and it was like a pop. You're on the other side now. Y'all are all on the other side now. And all that stuff's over there. I've talked about this. Uh, and then from that point, it was almost like coming out of a sleep. It was like, oh, how does this work? This is not how it was. And you talk about the synchronicities are just different things. This way of life and even this way of communication's not the same anymore. And
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing. It's just like weird, and your our ego identity is going, hey, wait a minute, hang on. This can't be that easy, or
yeah,
I got to be doing something. I can't tell you how many. I probably averaged, I would say probably a couple of hours a day just in silence, just laying down in silence or sitting in silence. And I
yeah,
can't even tell you why. I can just tell you that that's what I did. And I don't know, and I think a lot of people are going through this. They're going through uh, another level of awareness where it's like, okay, well, I know I'm a soul and we're awake and something wasn't right in the world. And then we go through all these cycles and then we come out of last year and it's like, wait a minute, now something's different. It's like we can go play, we can go build stuff, we can go collaborate, we can actually talk to each other and very openly.
yeah,
The word that you used, innocent. I mean, I've sat with that word a lot since the latter part of last year, and that's a fact.
yeah,
That to me, I can't even think of a word that represents more power than innocence,
Yeah.
because it's almost like if I step on your foot, I didn't mean to, right? So it's like I start to see everything instead of this threat or this bad trigger, or and that's another thing that came in last night, was like my soul was just like, what is greater in terms of physical embodiment than taking everything that you experience, regardless if there's a person involved, regardless if somebody said something bad to you, whatever the case is, what is a greater, what greater form of embodiment is there but to consciously take everything into yourself,
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, God, that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing. I've been getting quiet, and I'm sure a lot of people have, because I've seen them talk about it. And maybe that's what we're doing. We're just what they say is what, integrating, assimilating, integrating, allowing, accepting. I mean, I don't have the words. I'm just trying to describe what is possibly what you're saying about depression, or me about emotions, is simply feeling the new atmosphere, feeling the new world, feeling my new expansion, feeling everything without
Yeah.
judgment, without, hey, I'm awake now, or I just went up to the next level, or no, just actually feeling it. What does that feel like? It feels good. It feels bad. It feels weird. It feels confusing. It feels blissful. I mean, we're not uh we're not like a blender where you can click one of
Yeah.
the things and keep it on there. We go all over the place. It's just part of this human experience.
Yeah, I mean, I was going through this like real heart opening like thing this morning, and it was really painful. Uh, And the real heaviness that I felt inside of myself, the density and all that, all the stuff that was saying that I wasn't innocent was all weighing on me so heavily. But I just was able this time to feel it enough. And then
Mm,
somehow it was the exact same feeling. It sort of transformed. And all of a sudden, I realized I was like feeling all this bliss and ecstasy, but it was the same feeling. It hadn't changed.
mm,
It was just like, and then it was like, you're going to be feeling this more. Like, you're going to be feeling this more and more. It's going to be gradual. It's going to keep coming in, and you're to go slow with it, but it
mm.
is going to happen. And it's going to happen for a lot of people, like from now. And
Yeah,
then I turned on YouTube and someone said exactly the same thing.
yeah.
And
That feels right.
but it's through feeling, like feeling everything. Because I don't know, like I don't know why we've got to feel this stuff, like we're clearing it. But
Within
why
yourself.
intellectualize it? Like
Right.
just it's happening. Like why try and figure that out? I'm clearing this or that, and these energies are coming up, and the horoscope says this, and blah 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 just happened in the collective, and these events are happening, and it's like it's all too much, like
Yeah.
I'm feeling this, and
Yeah.
that's all I need to know, and then I can get on with my day.
Yeah. I like what you said there. I picture a tourist field, right? And,
Yeah,
and, like on one side is that, uh, question of self-worth and doubt and the lack of innocence. And on the other side is, that pure, the polarity. But the reality is, through this process you're talking about, that tourist starts to, they're one and the same.
yeah,
It's almost like as it comes, it goes. But how do you allow it to come? By being present. We use that a lot, right? I would like for you
yeah,
to be present with me, and you be present. I'd be present with you, etc. But presence with whatever is wherever you're at, it's all right there. It doesn't matter if you're in a room by yourself or I'm talking to a friend on the camera. I mean, it's all right there. And I love what you said too about get used to it. It's going to be happening more and more on a gradual basis. That really resonates a lot. That feels right. That
yeah.
describes what I'm experiencing.
I mean, I think that's what, I mean, I don't know, like what's going to happen. out there, what events might occur, but I feel that that's what 2024 is about feeling, more
Yeah.
feeling,
Yeah.
like we're living, the earth is ascending, we're moving into more energetic times, and we have to feel that energy. We're going to
Yeah.
feel it,
Yeah.
and it's going to bring up all sorts of stuff in us,
Right.
and we can just feel that.
Yeah.
But, like it's not a punishment, like it's not anything bad that's happening. We're going to get with the program. We'll have to,
Yeah.
and like I try and avoid it. I'm terrible, like I spend, but that's part of it as well, like I try and not feel. I try and remember what my doctor says or my psychiatrist or some therapist or someone on YouTube or whatever, like you come up with all these strategies and it's like it's all bullshit.
Fix
You
it.
got to feel it.
Yeah. It's like the all, all the talk about masculine and feminine, which is to me also taking on a whole new thing. Like it's almost like you can't separate them. Like
No,
what's good for one is good for the other. Like traditionally women might do this and men might do that, but that doesn't apply anymore. It's like we're all soul, right? And it's interesting to see that part of it. Um, and again, this whole because I think a lot of our experience seems to come through human interaction. A lot of the way we experience the world, most of us, comes through human interaction or lack thereof. Maybe you might even say that too, but we're still having something going on in here that
yeah,
involves personalities, let's just say. But so to be able to experience things, and maybe this is part of what being on the other side is being able to experience anything and everything with a diminishing charge, with a diminishing externalization. Oh, so and so caused that, or the government caused that. No, it's just information put before you.
yeah,
We're still innocent. Don't have to figure this out because that's a really good point you bring up about trying to explain things because yeah, did that serve us? Has that served us? Absolutely, it has. But at some point, with this expansion of this awareness and our beingness, uh, trying to explain something is all ego. I
yeah,
mean, this is where I'm coming. I'm not saying this is the gospel for everybody. I'm just saying I'm in my own self-talk. I'm like, why? Why do you need to know? Like, what are you trying to prove? There's nothing to prove. You reach this point where you trust the universe and you just want to be in alignment with that. And no, you don't understand everything, but if I have to explain everything, somebody's coming out on top, somebody's coming out on bottom, somebody's right, somebody's wrong. You can't get away from it.
no,
It's just an ultimately another narrative, an explanation that suits what? The soul? The soul doesn't need an explanation, but the ego does.
yeah. Like it's all right to have information and it's all right to have answers, like, but just they're not they're not absolute, are they? That's just for right now. That's just for
Yeah,
today. Like
yeah,
if something's happening inside of me and it's because of something someone said to me or whatever, it's okay to like blame that person for a day and then move on. Just feel it, isn't it? Like it's
yeah.
okay for it to be personal, to feel it
Okay,
personally, but it's not personal. You
right.
feel it personally,
Okay,
but it's
yeah,
like, but it's okay if you've got a story about it or if you're a victim about it, because that's also moving through.
yeah.
That's
It's all
also
okay.
for
It's
to
always
be
okay.
being felt, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, good
But
point.
it's
Thank you.
like we get, I do, like in my mind, I've got this open mind. I'm this intellectual person, and so I want to know everything. I want to
Oh,
know
believe
all
me,
the
I'm
answers.
not I'm not out of the woods there. I'm just saying that I
Like it,
keep ending up at the same place. It's kind of like this whole thing with Soulja. I was like, oh, you better get back on and start doing shows. I'm like, why?
yeah.
Why do I have to do that? And then I sit in that for 2, 3 days going, what does it matter? And you know, that this whole rationalizing thing and then, you know, you're right though. And it's always okay.
Yeah,
One thing that I've become more sensitive to because, you know, obviously with something like Sology, there's some, even though we're not real professional in the conventional sense, um, you got to promote it, you got to put the word out. Even those things, I find myself going, wait a minute, like why? You know, like you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like you question everything on the way through it as you were talking about. But one thing that I have become sensitive to because of that and other things is when I'm catching myself trying to create or prove a narrative. So somebody might say, this is this and this is that, and you're this and you're that. And then I immediately come out and say, wait a minute, no, I'm this and I'm that, and this is, and then I find myself going, wait a minute, there's a Stoic. I don't remember which one it was, but he said, don't explain, don't complain. And I never forgot those words. Don't
yeah.
explain and don't complain. And so I've catching myself, I'm not 100%, but I'm catching myself going, oh, here you go again, explaining. Well, innocence doesn't need to explain itself.
No, no, because we're not doing anything wrong, are we? We're not out there hurting people. But we feel
No.
like we are just by opening our mouths and speaking our truths. You know, I've
Yeah.
got to shut down my voice because it's not what other people think. And that's the big challenge for me for coming on here. And I've started recording my videos, my vlogs a little bit more in the last few weeks. Is, you know, like I'm not hurting anyone. But I realized that that was part of what was shutting me down, was this kind of fear of
Right.
like me having my own truth and having my own crazy ways
Yeah.
is somehow harming the world or harming someone or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what it's all about really. But there's this thing inside of me saying that you can't speak, you shouldn't speak. Who are you to go on Todd Medina's show, you know? All of
What
this
will
stuff.
people think? What will people
Yeah,
think of me if I say this or do this?
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, I think that's what my process was about this morning was just to get set me straight for the for coming on a live stream, you know, like just so I could speak, just so I could use my voice, you know, like because that's a big thing for me, is shutting my voice down. I mean, it was happening during my awakening. I was literally going, I was literally going mute at times, and I
Mm.
had to force my voice out just to speak, just to say what I needed. But yeah, like these are, I think it's so important that just people talk, you know,
Yeah.
people are talking about this stuff and being honest and
Yeah.
authentic and saying, and all the crap that they're experiencing that they're ashamed of, it's okay to talk about it.
Yes to that. And so last week, when I get this first nudge, oh, you're going to go on, click live, shut up and just do it, you know, and I'll do it. And then I'm like, what am I going to say? Well, that was a big part of it was, and I don't know where it's going, but it started with you need to talk about your journey because what is meant to come out or presented will come out that way. And if I extrapolate that to my feelings, even over the last 2 or 3 years, um, certainly, you know, in the last 2 or 3 months, is yeah, there's some really personal feelings and, you know, transformational sequences that I've gone through. And that all sounds positive and a bit fluffy, love and light, but it certainly has every element and equal element of darkness. We might call darkness or shadow. But it's like I'm wanting to be transparent, like from the soul. Like my soul's saying, hey, this is where you guys are headed. And if you want to fulfill your role, then go ahead and start now. And I'm like, well, okay, well, how do you do that? And they're like, well, have we ever given you an owner's manual? Figure it out. But you've got to take action to figure it out. And you're going to have some missteps or you're going to have some uncomfortableness. So it's like that. And so I'm thinking, well, how deep can I go? Because when you get into personal things, it involves other people
Yeah,
and and you want to be respectful. But I really do feel like that's the trajectory that we're on is this full transparency. So that's where I see the value of these few shows that I've done since I got restarted. It's a whole different conversation.
yeah, yeah, because that's like spirituality has all been about putting on some kind of a mask, hasn't it?
Hmm.
So far, a spiritual
Solution.
mask
Yeah.
of like, I've got it all together, I'm enlightened, I don't experience the shadow anymore, I don't have thoughts anymore, or whatever it might be. And I don't know whether there are people like that, whether that's real or not. But like, I think the rest of us, it's for just being honest about what we're experiencing. Like
Yeah.
I am, I'm experiencing depression, and it's okay. It doesn't mean I've failed.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm going backwards. It's just something
No.
I'm feeling, and I don't know why, and I don't know how it must be helping. There must be a purpose for it, but it's just happening, and
Yes.
I'm going to honor it while it's here, and then I'm going to say goodbye to it when it goes until it comes back.
Until it comes back.
Yeah,
See, you're making me think too, uh, because I would say that I had two two major bouts of depression, like traditional, like that lasted a couple of years, right? In my late teens and my late 20s. And and then of course 2012 comes and so on and all the fluctuations of that we're talking about. But I realize that part of being multidimensional, multifaceted isn't just all the angelic and galactic and elemental parts of us, and it's the human parts of us. And
yeah,
so you're listening to you made me realize right now, just to speak my truth, I've had uh depression's been around for me. Um from time to time. Hasn't dominated me. It might have got me some days and other days, but I have to admit that, and I appreciate the fact that you just spoke what you did because it's allowing me to acknowledge, even though it's in front of people, my own depressive thoughts, even since Sology Fest. Before that, this I don't want to say void, but it's almost like a hole, like a piece has left,
yeah,
right? I mean, and I think again, this is probably pretty important, and maybe part of the reason is that we are losing identities, and we talked about this, but to talk about it and actually feel it, that's
yeah,
two different things. So
yeah,
that what you call depression may just be um, part of this transformation as our perspective changes, just as triggers, like triggers or activations.
yeah,
And we're starting to figure that out. So the day will come when a trigger
yeah,
comes. If I piss you off or you piss me off, we're going to be like, thanks, as opposed
yeah,
to he's an asshole.
yeah.
But, but,
It's like, do we externalize it, or do we like go, hang on a minute, what's
yeah,
what's going on inside of me now in response?
mm,
But it's like we don't need to be all analytical. I mean, I have got this tendency to be analytical about it all, but it's just about the feeling, I think. Like it's not about, I think we're going beyond all of that. stuff about needing to know what it's clearing. You know, this is clearing such and such a thing inside of me, and I think we're I think we're gradually moving on from that.
Yeah.
And in time, I mean, there's things like, that have changed. I've changed a lot. Things don't happen the way they used to happen. So I can say there's healing happening, but
Yeah.
it's not what I thought. It's not what I thought healing would be. I thought healing would be you're no longer going to be experiencing depression, or you're no longer going to be whatever. Um, and maybe that will happen one day. I don't know. But like, um, I think it's more about I'm no longer causing a load of shit in my life. I'm no longer
Yeah.
hurting people. I'm no longer making stupid choices.
Well, it's
Like
like you have a,
that's healing as
yeah,
well.
it's like you have a peace. You have a peace through it all. You have a peace through the valleys
Yeah,
and the summits that you climb, through the depression, through it's like that. Like when you were talking earlier and you said all this stuff is going on, yet my soul's in there going, hey, there's
yeah,
a higher
is it?
truth here, and it's not going to change. And I think that's what you're saying too. It's like we think enlightenment is we're going to walk around buzzing like a star, illuminating like the sun. Uh,
Yeah,
we came here to be human beings, and if there's ever been a time to to kind of like align with that and own that, it's now. And to your point, which is a great point too, it's nothing like we could think it would be.
no,
The things that we think are leaving, they're not leaving. They're just looking different. The things we thought were coming, they're not coming. Uh, but there's some kind of something permeating through me and through everything I'm coming into contact with that is without the shift show that you're talking about, without the hurting people or without the, you know, things happening as a result of our energetic output. Yeah, it's just a weird, you can't grade it or judge it based on where we came from. It's a whole different science, mathematics, and geometry.
yeah, I think so. Like things are just we like it's like the spirit, the energetic landscape is changing,
Mm,
and we need to catch up with that. We need to be present with that,
mm,
and not going back to, I mean, like teachers and teachings and old teachings, like universal teachings, they might help, but like, can we listen to what's actually happening right now, what we need right now, what our communities need right now, our loved ones need right now from us, and can we show up for that without sort of, I don't know, well, I've got to go through this process before I can do this, that, and the other, and I've got to clear this or I've got to do that. It's just about, I don't know, things are it just feels like things are changing so fast, like,
yeah,
and got to keep up.
yeah. And it's becoming apparent to me, especially after going through the evolution, this transformation over the last, to say, since 2012 for many people. And I know some it's different dates it started and all that, but there was an element of, uh, I don't know how to put this exactly because I don't want to be offensive in any way to myself or anybody. Um, there's, I don't know. It was such a stark contrast from the end of last year to this year, and it's gaining steam every day. There's nothing to prove. There's no story that holds any water. There's really all these things that are just dropping, 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 and they're all leading to the same place, which is to be present, but to be present way beyond what we thought.
Yeah,
It's literally to be, I saw something the other day and it said, a person that's angry will make people angry. A person that's sad will make people sad. A person that's grateful will, will exhibit that gratitude. And see that in the reflections of their experience. So it's something like that. It's like we're changing. It's innate. It's bigger than us. It's happening anyway. It affects us all a little differently. We have our ups and we have our downs, but we're landing like what you were saying. Like it's like what you were explaining about the depression. You have this, and maybe it's not the right word, but you have this peace with it, more and more peace with it every step of the way, with whatever comes and
Yeah,
whatever is.
yeah, I think so. Like it's like, I mean, sometimes I do get lost in it, but more and more, it's like being depressed isn't stopping me from being present
Exactly. Exactly.
and isn't stopping me from calling in guidance and support, and it isn't stopping me from doing any of that stuff. It's like, I don't know if this is like a transitional period or if this is the way that things will be from now on, or I don't know. Like, but
Yeah.
that's what's happening now, is that I
Yeah.
can be present and be having an anxiety attack
That's
or a
not,
panic attack in front of a
yeah.
bunch of people, But it feels
Yeah.
very bizarre, I feel like am I faking this? There's all this stuff going on. It's really
Mm.
weird, like um it's kind of like a bit of an out of body experience doing having a panic attack these days, but like I don't know, and I really beat myself up for it, but I don't know. It's just it's still happening. It's not going away, and maybe it will, but for now it's still happening. So I don't know.
And it's hard to, sometimes it's, well, let me not go there. But um, I don't know how I would approach this other than there's something really powerful, uh, like where you started, like with innocence. Because it's not like, okay, I'm gonna flip a switch and now I'm gonna see the power of innocence and I'm gonna be innocent in everything I do and every outlook I have and every experience I have and everything's fixed. No, no, no. It's more of like your guides told you. It's gonna come in, it's gonna be gradual, and it's the same thing. Like our perspective of a trigger is gradually metamorphosizing into a welcomed activation or uh, this whole thing with because to me the really the key has been the self-talk, utilizing my imagination to play with in a way I never had before, like in a much bigger way, which means I spend a lot of time talking to myself, a lot of time creating from the spirit mind, not the monkey mind, but the non-judgment. So that when something I'm experiencing happens and I immediately go into a thought or a loop of I'm lesser than, uh, or even seeing someone else or receiving projection or whatever the case is. But it starts here, this place of non-judgment, which is full compassion for me, which means, man, I'm a human. I'm a soul. I put myself in a human body. I'm going through this experience. It's been crazy. Yeah, I'm going to have compassion for that. I don't. It's not like pity. It's more like respect and reverence.
Yeah.
And so compassion starts to take on a new meaning, like innocence takes on a new meaning. It becomes a power source.
Yeah. Because I had to find that innocence inside of me this morning, I had to go through taking something very personally. Like,
Okay.
these I was I've got these particular people playing on my mind. And so my guides are asking me, why do you feel like this? What's wrong with those people, what they're doing? And I was saying, or I was saying all this stuff, and in the end, I ended up saying, because they're not respecting my innocence. And then that was the key to find my innocence, because I had to take it personally. I had to feel it personally in order to recognize my innocence in that situation, that they were disrespecting my innocence, which is like, And I did feel like a victim, and I did feel like I was like wrong to feel like a victim. And I
Right.
went through all this stuff where I'm not supposed to feel like this. I'm not supposed to feel like a victim. You know, I'm going backwards and all of this stuff. But it was through that that I realized that there is the innocence at the core, and that's
Yeah.
how I found it today, at least, through that through that feeling, through feeling it all that and all the thoughts, feeling the thoughts, the stories,
Yeah.
the projections, allowing it all to come in to speak it.
Yeah. God, you're full of gems today. Uh, yeah, because what you're saying is to there's nothing wrong, period. But I mean, there's nothing destructive or deconstructive about feeling like a victim in a moment of feeling, you know? That's not the same thing as being in victim consciousness. That's a whole different thing. That's a
Yeah,
different operating system. What you're saying is uh, I'm in this new operating system, and I think I was speaking to this last night. On the video, there's things that we thought weren't coming with us that are coming with us. In fact, everything's coming with us.
yeah,
It's just transforming parallel to our own transformation.
yeah,
So again, the word victim, the connotation with the word victim is all negative from where we came from.
yeah,
Somebody's getting screwed, you know. But over here, it's a different it's a different thing. It's a different operating system. There's a different connotation, or I should say connotations, and threads and threads of code and so on with something like that, you know?
yeah. Because to me, at first, the victim felt like ego, but actually, the ego was like the shell of the innocence. It was like
Hmm.
holding on to the innocent one. And that's why it was feeling like a victim. The ego felt like a victim because the ego's innocent as well.
Touche, touche. Whoa. Yeah, that's good.
I mean, it's just
Almost like
crazy, isn't it?
they use that analogy that like the the ego is the shell around the soul, right? Like it
Yeah,
doesn't
I
want to
mean, I've
crack. Like, because can the soul feel? Can the soul feel pain, suffering, victimization? I mean, think about it. The soul came into the human to feel.
yeah,
It came in to feel. It's impenetrable. It's God's seed. It can't be. It's all to bring expansion. So I never thought about it that way. We're always thinking the soul is protecting the ego, but maybe the ego is protecting the soul.
I
From
don't
yeah,
know. Like, yeah, I mean, it's how do we're never gonna get it, are we? We're
no,
never gonna understand it.
no,
Like,
no,
it's just, I mean,
no.
I'm sure I won't ever go through that process in that way again, and it'll be shown to me in a different way
Hmm.
next time, if whatever happens next time, like it's I don't know, like it just changes every time, doesn't it?
Yeah,
What when we go through these transformations or these activations, it's just different every single time.
yeah, and they're coming a mile a minute. I mean, it's pretty much. I mean, man, this time is just like, what the hell is time? But like January was huge. It's 6, 7, 8 days into January. I'm like, this is the biggest month we've ever had. You can combine all the months before that for 62 years, and this is the biggest month. It was only 8 or 9 days into it. And then we get toward the end of January, and I was talking to somebody, maybe it was Morgan, and she's like, well, February is going to be bigger than January. I'm like, there's no way. But it wasn't like it's going to be bigger, like a little bit bigger. It's like way bigger. And sure enough, so I think today's the 17th. I mean, there's had to be at least three major cycles of activation this month. I mean, I'm talking the huge ones. We had two X flares. in 10 days, a
Yeah.
multitude of other flares. I mean, there's a lot of ways to read it, but if we all think about what we've been experiencing, and it's all, and it's so much information that even if we want to, I think it's coming soon that even if we want to try to explain or understand things, we won't even have the time to do it. It won't be a
No,
functionable thing. It'll just
I
be,
don't. Yeah,
yeah,
I don't follow the space weather stuff so much.
mm,
I do look at it sometimes afterwards. I'm like, go and look at last week's and see what's happening last week, but like, or whatever, you know. But I don't know. It's just never been something I've been called to look at. You know, it's not part of
yeah,
my thing. Like astrology, I've tried to get into astrology, but that's not my thing either. I don't think. You know,
yeah.
like I think it's just like
I've got
um,
friends that are, ties of esoteric astrology is very powerful. And I've got other friends that are astrologers or into numerology. So I've got to the point now where, and it's been slow coming, where it's like, you know what? That's not going to have power over me. I'm not going to just accept that. You know, I think that it's maybe a guide for us. It was part of our code encodement. It's part of the setup. But I am soul means I am soul. That means it's all right here. Everything's happening right
yeah,
here. And wow, I never thought it would be like this. Uh, but my what wishes that I call prediction, even though I don't predict things, that we'll get to this point that Franco talked about, and everything's going to be, oh, I don't even think about that anymore because my feeling is it's such a humbling experience too because you end up having to eat humble pie. You have to accept things about yourself. You have to really you can't BS the universe, right? But it's like if I don't get it here right now, I'm not going to get it. If I can't at least dip into that space from here with you in this moment and these people, I'm never going to get it because living is the whole thing.
yeah,
Living's the whole thing. Being alive is the whole thing. That's it.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. I've spent enough
especially as
time trying to.
you see people that are transitioning and in all of our own lives that are having issues. And if that doesn't, again, don't explain, don't complain. I mean, it's easy to complain because all I got to do, or easy not to complain, because all I got to do is look around and it's everywhere. You know, I know a friend that just had a stroke. I have a friend that just had a heart attack. You know, hey, I'm healthy, wealthy, well, in spirit, wealthy and wise, right? Um, there's something to be said for that. My gratitude is on the same level as my innocence.
Yeah, yeah. That's what the innocence wants, isn't it? Like you said, the healthy, wealthy, and wise. You know, in spirit.
Yeah,
Like I've got everything I need right now.
right,
It's good.
right.
I'm good.
Yeah. 1 in 8 children in the world will not eat today. Right? What's the other one? Two and 8 or 3 and 8 don't have indoor plumbing. I mean, there's people all over the world going through things. All you got to do is drive down the street and see a homeless person begging for money on the corner. And going back to that, what you said early on, when you were talking about what we have been told is psychotic, neurotic, etc. There, I know I lost my mind 12 years ago.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I found the light. Now, how the hell does that work? I don't know. But I do know this. I met a lot of people in those 2 years on the street, and I learned a lot about reality. And just because they look like misfits, oh my God, I can't tell you how many angels I met,
oh
how
yeah,
many people that were comfortable in their own skin, living in their own universe and carrying an energy of, I would just say, harmony. And the only time it became disharmonious is when somebody came by and tried to put him in a box
Yeah.
or heavily medicated.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of that. Was that hard? You said when this went down for you in 2017, you just said, I'm off the meds?
Yeah, it was spectacularly hard. I went cold turkey,
Wow.
and it was most likely very physically damaging what I did. Um, I mean, I was told at the time, I mean, I went through all the psychic surgery on my brain. I went through all those, I had all these experiences where I was bilocating, I was on a ship having surgery. I had all these different beings around me. It was scary as fuck, like I
Wow.
was I was in a real state, but and it was an intervention. There was like a massive intervention happened on my behalf. And yeah, so I was on antipsychotics, I was on lithium, I was on antidepressants, I was on sleeping pills, um, well, it's a couple of others. I was on sort of fair doses of them. And I got to a point where I was so distressed with my life that I took certain action. I tried to leave, and that didn't work. And when I woke up the next morning, I was like, well, I'm done with these meds then. I'm not taking these anymore. They're not helping me.
Wow.
If I've got to that point in my life where I'm actually ready to go, then
Yeah.
why am I taking meds?
Right. Exactly.
Just and what I did
That
was I
makes no
actually,
sense. That
yeah,
makes
I
that
actually
yeah.
stopped that day, and
Wow.
and it was just hell. I was
Wow.
going through. I mean, my parents they were so there for me, but I was just
Wow.
like I was waiting for people to leave because I knew I didn't want to go to hospital. I knew I just wanted to ride it out in my bedroom, in my flat, and so people would leave, and then I would just have convulsions
Wow.
going through it all, whatever was happening in my body with with no longer having those meds in my system. Well, with them leaving or
Do
going
you
through
do
cold
you
turkey.
do you feel like the intervention that you're speaking of had to do, at least in part, with your multidimensional team, like these bilocations and being on a ship, and that that your team stepped in and had a part in your rejuvenation or your liberation?
Yeah, because I wasn't supposed to go.
Yeah, yeah. Um, do you think that, and here we go. Now, this to me is a little different than having to know why. It's just curiosity. I think that's part of innocence is curiosity.
Yeah,
But like I think about that, and I think about my second wife and some of the things that I she experienced with me sitting right next to her, telling me, right? Um, I wonder if just as we're conscious here, consciously awake, that somehow or another, some of us at times, that consciousness, it's almost like I want to say jump into another body, but it's like jumping into another body. Like and to
yeah,
me, that's the type of challenges that the people I met on the streets and I met in rehab, because when I was in rehab, many of the people were in the system, in the mental illness system, basically, uh, and were medicated. But still, even though I had some conversations with people, and they allowed me into their reality, which had to do with all kinds of things, castles. One guy told me he was a prince and he saw angels and demons, and I'm like, yeah. He goes, you believe me? I said, yeah. Yes, I
yeah.
do.
I believe
Um,
them because I,
but yeah, so and then it makes me wonder, like from a curiosity standpoint, is this the kind of stuff that's going to come into our reality too, where we start to see all the the
yeah,
different, you know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know. Like I had an experience. I had long COVID last year, and it was I really felt like my life force was leaving me. I really was. Am I gonna die? Like, is this gonna kill me? It really is just like everything goes. All my strength, my stamina. I could like I just felt like my life force was going. And one night I was awoken, and this is what I've been I was watching. Is her name Liv Wheeler? Liv Wheeler, who was on your
Oh,
show
oh, yeah,
with
Liv
the
Wheeler with
contumbly.
the little people. Oh, she's
Yeah,
amazing.
so I think I had an experience with that with them,
Hmm.
and because I'd been watching those shows, like, and I was in the middle of having of I was in the middle of long COVID, and I was awoken in the night, and it was just really strange, but I felt okay. There didn't seem to be any kind of like real concern, but I knew I'd been awoken from my sleep, and I was laying on my back, and I was just wondering what was going on. I felt like something was happening, and I felt this drip, a drip of water or liquid land on my lower lip, and I was like, "What the hell? What? Like, what's going on?" And I'm asking, I'm like, "Is this real? Am I asleep? Am I awake? What's happening?" And I reached up and I felt that there was this little drip of liquid on my lower lip, and I just tried to wipe it away, but and there's no reason, there was nothing in the room that would have caused that. No, there was no leaks from the ceiling, nothing. Like it's just completely unexplained why this drip happened.
Hmm.
And then I kind of forgot about it for a couple of days, and I started actually recovering from long COVID at that point. And and then they came in and they said it was medicine.
Oh,
So it's like, is that another intervention? What was that all about? I don't know, but it did happen. I I I kind of had to prove it to myself that it did happen, but it was definitely real.
I believe you. And
But
if
I
I
have
tell you,
no answers, I have no definitive.
I,
You would definitely, it was definitely medicine because there was a concern for your health and COVID was
mm,
probably going to take you out or whatever. I don't know. But that
mm,
actually happened, and I got better from it. Although I'm still getting better, but
God,
I crossed a kind of I got over the hump of it at that time.
I think we're gonna blow our minds once we get all the information. But one, we're gonna blow our minds and go, wow, we set that up like that. And then the other one, the second thing is gonna be, man, I want to go back.
Yeah, so
As
who
my,
knows what's going on in the background that we can't see
I
happening,
know.
like these beings or spirits, they're everywhere,
Yeah,
and like,
yeah,
that
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
helping, you know,
yeah,
and
yeah. Especially,
we think we're manifesting stuff,
oh,
like we get our egos involved and maybe we are,
well,
maybe we aren't, but we're being assisted all the time.
absolutely. And if I tell you that last night when I was in, I spent, I don't know, leading up to that little video I did, I think I spent a couple of hours by myself, just in solitude, no music, nothing, right? And at one point, I had my head back like that, and I felt a drop land on my head.
Oh, no way.
Swear to God. And I thought, he's not telling me this. I mean, this is crazy, right? I mean, this is crazy. But I didn't get like it was a medicine. I thought, well, there's no explanation for that. It had to, and again, everything has meaning. So
Yeah.
I'm happy that you shared that. I had these seizures for years, 15 to 50. I had 150 to 200 seizures. And I've gone back to visit the energy of that on several occasions. I've been shown different things about why that was happening. And I finally stepped away from it saying, well, evidently there's not just one thing that was happening. There was a whole multi-dimensional thing happening. So
Yeah.
there wasn't just one thing. And I wonder about that too, how little we actually know. Which I guess serves us.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
it
kind of
serves
the
us.
beauty of this world, isn't it?
Yeah.
In a
Well, we
way,
have to be present with ourselves, you know?
it's like learning to trust the universe because we
Yes.
don't have control in the end. We don't have any control.
Thank you.
We just think we do.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
anything can happen. We could die
Yeah.
tomorrow. Like anything can
Yeah.
happen. We don't
Yeah.
know when our number's up.
Trust. That's really, you know, that's really it.
Yeah,
That says everything. You know, I mean, it's not easy as a human being to trust something or someone that doesn't appear to give you the same, right? Uh, but ultimately, that's what we're being afforded the opportunity to do to see what the outcome will be, right? And let's face it, we haven't lived this life trusting. And you know, I always say this, they've been telling my team's been telling me this since 2011. Whatever you do, don't do anything that's been done before. And I think we've tried everything else.
yeah,
So maybe we just need to let go, like you
yeah.
said, feel our way, be in touch with our feelings, explore our innocence, curiosity, you know, and trust.
Yeah.
That's a huge proposition. And a world that's upside down, it could very well mean that, you know, we turn this place into Shangri-La tomorrow.
Yeah. Who
Well,
knows what's next?
you're a beautiful soul. I will say that. You are a
Thank you, sir.
beautiful, beautiful soul. It is a pleasure to get to know you. Um, and I hope we can do this
And for
again,
me
maybe
too.
later this year. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. That'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah. I really admire your uh veracity, you know, your truth, the energy of your truth. Uh, you know, I spent a lot of time over the years watching different platforms and what they're talking about and what this and this and that and all this. And I am so like I can't even watch anything anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and something's telling me as the days go by, it's only been a few days, but that this is where it's at. Where it's at is real conversations. You don't need to instruct me on how to do things. I don't need to instruct you on how to do things. You know, the old stereotypes. If it's a man, he wants to fix it. If it's a woman, she wants to be the mother and fix it. I mean, basically the same outcome. We don't need to fix each other.
No.
We can learn
No.
so much just by, you know, just by being honest and having an honest conversation. And what I mean by that is, like you said, no mask. I'm hurting. I'm hurting.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, there's parts of me that are hurting. I miss my
Yeah.
wife. I don't understand some things in life. Uh, there's just all kinds of stuff, but there's also this right here.
Yeah.
Like, you know how they say, if you were going to die tomorrow or whatever, uh, I want to be in this energy because talking to you is talking to everyone. To me,
Yeah. And it's like it's the same, like, it was when I found you back in 2017 and you were doing your spirit walks and you were being real on camera. That was what that was the kind of stuff that I was seeking out, and that was the kind of stuff that I wanted to create for myself as well, because that was helping me.
mm,
Seeing someone being real was helping me, and that's what I want to do. Is I want to be real because if it helps me, it's got to be helping someone else.
true. Yeah, like a tuning fork, right? Well,
Yeah,
that makes me feel really good. That does not for my ego, but for you know this doubt that we have. You know, of all this time I've
yeah,
been doing. You know, I ended up on a personal level because obviously there's a lot more to Sology than Todd, but on a very personal level, in my role, I ended up. How do you end up after 12 years of busting your ass, giving it all? You know, and I'm not perfect, but I'm just saying, you know, really putting it out there. I end up at the end of the road in debt, a few $1,000s, totally depleted. We go into 2024 and I'm like, man, I don't even think I can make it another day, like much less go do a program or a show.
Yeah.
But there is something, I love the word that you use, gradually. There is something that's building. It doesn't have to be talked about. It doesn't have to jump up on a soapbox. It's just coming. It's coming in all of us, or
Yeah.
many of us, or something to, enough of us that it's going to have an immediate uh, effect on an accelerated basis with our external experience that we share with each other.
Yeah. And I think in retrospect, like in a couple of years or 5 years down the line, we're going to feel like it happened really suddenly.
No doubt. No doubt.
But,
No doubt.
this is a day by day, minute by minute,
Uh,
slow right down. Don't try and speed anything up. Don't try and push anything. Don't try and figure it all out.
it
Go
reminds
slow
me of
down.
that old Foghat song. I know I'm older than you. It's slow ride, take it easy. But you're
I
right.
don't know that one.
Oh, it's an old one. It's from like the late 60s, early 70s. But what did you just say? God, I forgot that last point.
Slowing down?
I don't remember now. But yeah, so yeah, I'd love to get together with you again and
Yeah, that'd be great.
just just kind of making it up as we go here and getting this network back up and running again. And the I know one of the primary objectives is to provide a platform for people to come in and do this in a place that's uncensored. That's a place that's operated through self-sufficiency, basically. Nobody does anything for us. We're all figuring this out. We all got to do it ourselves. And so, we try to emulate the energies that are, coming to the surface here with the creations that we have. And I think that the creations that we have are going to be a big part of our world very quickly. Um, I'm just honored to be here with you, though. So
Me too.
um, I look forward to
Very
doing
much.
this
Thank
again.
you.
Yeah, I look
Yeah,
forward to
let's
doing
do it
this again.
again.
And you take care. Peace
Thank you,
out.
Todd. Bye.
All right.